All right. Are we on? Oh, we're on YouTube now. Sweet. Welcome everyone to our 26th town hall. It's been I think, a good start to the year so far. We'll kick it off with a recent email that Jared sent out about compensation in crypto. Jared? Hello? Can anyone hear me? Is it am I
I
the
can hear you,
Yeah,
Bill,
can
but
you?
not Jared.
Can hear you.
Yep.
Oh, all right. Is Jared might be having mic issues. Oh, someone unmute him. Poor guy, he's just stuck there on mute.
Hello?
There we go.
All right, cool. So basically, we're working towards getting to this DAO. So I sent out an email last week, asking a couple of questions, seeing if you'd be willing to accept crypto, what would be your token preferences, and if there's any sort of potential issues in adopting crypto as a primary form of pay. So the good news is, of the people who actually allowed me to share this data, 60% of them are pretty much ready to accept crypto. The people who weren't predominantly were concerned about basically the sort of legal status of adopting crypto, how that affects their ability to get like loans and that sort of thing. Particularly the France, Poland, Ukraine, and Russia crypto climate seem to raise the most concerns. So we're going to look into sort of potential solutions for those jurisdictions specifically. But of course, also, I've got all your comments on that, and there's a few other things that that are a bit more personal that I need to attend to as well. There was a couple of comments basically saying that they would like to trial splitting their fiat versus crypto. I just wanted to remind you that you can actually already do that. You just need to log into Bamboo and set that up for yourself. Reach out to PeopleOps if you'd like to make any of that happen. So basically, in addition to that, I put in the defaults of token preferences, and a few people changed them, but it was kind of interesting to see that there's basically a 50-50 split between F and DAI as their first preference, with their second and third being predominantly favoring SNT, which is good to see. It'd be great to see it as first, but I understand why. But yeah, that's pretty much it from me, and I'll be following up with a lot of your comments. Thanks.
Cool. Thanks, Jared. So just a reminder, on top of any of this stuff, if you have any questions about billing or anything related to life as a core contributor, feel free to ping PeopleOps team via email or through status on the PeopleOps status-PeopleOps channel. Moving on to our regular Swarm updates that we've had now for the second week. Before we get into them, a quick reminder. 2 weeks ago, we had a kind of overview from Rachel of using Pivotal Tracker. Some teams have done a really good job of adopting some of the various features. And one that's really awesome is Epics. You can see here, this is the core team using Epics to track a variety of different issues. And it gives a really good snapshot of how much has progressed, how much is in progress, and how much is left to do. Ignore the estimates on the far right. You need to feed it a lot of data to start getting accurate estimates. But essentially, for any teams that are using Pivotal Tracker, which is pretty much all swarms, try to cluster them into epics, and then you'll be able to get these sweet graphs. And then every town hall, you simply can just show this. And it just generally helps with getting everyone on board on what the top priorities are and how much progress has been made. So friendly reminder. All right, jumping into specific swarms. Igor?
Yep. Hi. So we are still very much in the research phase. I moved the needle a little bit towards progression, but the first thing is that we will probably extend the research for at least 2 weeks, maybe more, because Yeah, basically because there will be a meetup in Brussels about the new protocol, and we also want to make sure that our decision is not, at least not incompatible with like development and switching to the new protocol, since it's very tightly coupled with it to some extent. So what was done in these 2 weeks? Yeah, basically Andrea was mostly working on it, and we did a comparison of possible incentivization structure for our current setup, like mail servers, Whisper, flood of messages and things like that, like we have right now. And we also chose one protocol that's very different from that to make a more generic idea about what would be the pitfalls if our protocol will change, and it will probably change in the future. So that's the biggest point. So unfortunately, right now it's like it's a little bit yeah. It's mostly Andre is doing this work, and Oscar, and mostly Oscar giving feedback. But starting from the next 2 weeks, we're also trying to start some design research on recurring payments and things like that. So we will try to make it more a parallel solution to move a little bit faster. That's all for me.
Cool. Thanks, Igor. Eric or anyone from the chat team? All right. Anyone else?
Am I muted?
No, there you go. I can hear you. Okay,
so we've made progress with the design of Tribute to Talk, and now Vitaly has made good progress with the screens for Tribute to Talk. Regarding the blocking feature, we've decided to delay it so that we implement the contact list, so to allow people to unblock before we release the feature, because what's ready now only allows to block but not unblock. So so right now we're working on Tribute to Talk and block user feature, and we've also started discussions with design for the ENS usernames in chat. So that's Tribute to Talk and Chat Swarm.
Sweet. Thanks, Eric. Sticker market, Julian or Rachel?
Yeah, I'm happy to give the update. So similar progress with Sticker Market. We've made really good progress on the UI so far. So we'll continue with that this week. Ricardo is finalizing work on the registry contract. Once we have that in place, we'll be able to begin connecting the UI to the contract. Outside of that, we've got a few open browser issues still, but we're probably actually going to continue to prioritize polishing the Kyber extension, especially because we're going to be sponsoring an extension bounty at Denver. But we also really want to make sure that that's a really good proof of concept for extensions. It's close. There's just a few minor issues that are open.
Yes, sorry, I just realized I was muted, but thank you, Rachel, for saving my ass. So, yeah, essentially last week we finished the specification, and you can see that there is a link with all the details. We focused on trying to come up with the simplest solution, and essentially the idea is to just ship and implement as soon as possible so that we can get feedback from people just testing whatever we did. So on top of that, so I pushed a bit on the UI front and implemented some proof of concept of the mockups that we have. And so there is, I shared a video. If someone can trigger it, that would be interesting. In full screen, eventually, if that's possible. Okay,
Let me try that. Let me try that again. This thing is in the way. There we go. That's a bit annoying.
Let me try to move it a bit. Can I move it?
No, but you can see in really small.
If you resize the window, maybe it will overlay differently.
That's hilarious. Oh, there we go. Does that work? Can everyone see that? Is that full screen on other people?
Right.
Yeah.
That's scary.
I think you can also press F.
So that's kind of an overview of this proof of concept. You can see I used like placeholder stickers, but yeah, don't worry, there will be more picture of me in the MVP. So what we plan to do next week is kind of finish what we're right now. Mostly what we miss is the purchase workflow, so that we need like the whole logic to decide to buy a pack or to pay a pack, because there are some free packs. So we will implement this. And also like the one other big thing that we are missing right now is interacting with a real contract, because right now everything is kind of faked. So there are interaction with some kind of contract, but it's not a real contract deployed. So that this is what we will push this week. And yeah, eventually, hopefully we will get some feedback and try to understand if we want to add more features or if we are fine with the current state of things.
Awesome. Thanks, Julian. Now, how can I? There we go. All right, Dapster Andy.
Hey, so after a conversation with our designers, we have a soft date for the 15th of February because this is a P1 and not a P0 swarm. So we'll have initial designs for the Dap store by the middle of next month. And if you would like to follow along with the latest research that is ongoing at the moment, it's mostly just me, but there's a pretty cool observable linked on this slide. It comes both with an explanation of how we're going to handle iterations for the swarm, as well as some interactive graphs and code and sliders that you can play around with to try and get a sense of the curve that we're proposing to use. And the other piece of research that will be going along in tandem with this is hopefully a UX survey with Hester to try and understand what people might be willing to stake in a dApp store and what they would be expecting out of it, and just get a better sense of what our sort of basic user expectations would be, so that we can feed some better data into trying to understand what the optimal curve to use is. So please check out that observable model. I'd love some feedback on it from anyone.
Sweet. Thanks, Andy. So just going over some of the other priorities that we're working on. So there's the DAO that Yuri's driving. There's also the telenetwork. There's no updates this time, but I think there'll be a more detailed update next time on both of those two things. Oh, okay, Yuri, you want to give an update then?
Yeah, you guys can hear me?
Yep.
Yeah. So next time I'll do a more in-depth presentation. But essentially, this last 2 weeks we did a lot of progress. We have a working MVP. This week we'll actually deploy something to Rinkeby, just so we can experiment more with it in a real environment. So essentially, we have a very basic UI that can do a basic arbitration and dispute mechanism, and we're now analyzing more in depth, more advanced reputation system, and also this situation that all kind of buyer get the crypto if he doesn't ask crypto in the first place, and we're going to leverage the existing gas layer that Status has developed. We're also experimenting developing a mobile dApp, so that could be sold in the App Store potentially. And so this week we're going to continue to develop that repetition mechanism and continue to fix some bugs, so if we can go towards the second stage of the MVP. For the DAO, we're doing a UI for the sandbox, and Barry did a really, really great job on that. And so it has an UI that has all sorts of graphs and charts, and really gives in-depth look at what's going on in the DAO, who's funding who, what decisions are being made. And so that's it for now.
Sweet. Thanks for the update, Yuri. Igor, do you want to give a update on the core improvement side of things?
Yeah, sure. It's essentially you showed it on the slide.
That's true.
Before, because it was pretty fresh. But yeah, according to my estimations right now with the current backlog, that so far didn't grow that much, with 9% ish into the completion. So what we work on is the still message reliability, and it's actually we went backwards in progress because there are a few push notification issues that were added that needs to be fixed before we can close this thing. And we also had some mail servers rework. That's a separate epic, but I still keep it under sort of reliability umbrella. So saving password is there on Android, but now we need to improve both platforms from the threat modeling that for people, mostly to protect people who reuse passwords. I would say it like that. So we are also going through dependency audits, which is very also more than halfway done. It's a step towards reproducible builds, which is very important. Then we started doing traffic savings. So there are a few things that we need to do to spend less traffic. And we also started work on the message compatibility and upgradability. Essentially, this is this issue that we had when a new version didn't really play well with replies from the old version and things like that. So just how can we make it so it's not like that anymore. And actually a side effect of this one, it will hopefully be a second client in Go for the status protocol. This also will hopefully help testing status Go releases, to be able to manually test status Go releases. Because right now it's a pretty long process when you publish a new release and then you have to test it on a status React side. So I guess QAs have a lot to say about this process, which is very suboptimal. So we'll hope to fix that as well. So yeah, that's all for me.
Awesome. Oscar?
Yeah, sure. So protocol update. I talked briefly about this at the CodeDev call, but we have a sort of proof of concept for data sync layer. With ideas that should be sort of a in-between layer between sort of Whisper as a transport layer, and then at the bottom, and then at the top you have things like private chat and public chat and group chat and any other kind of mechanism that requires some kind of data synchronization. And in this proof of concept, it's a simple sort of Python simulation where it tried to sort of mimic mobile nodes that are mostly offline and also sort of desktop nodes that are more online and maybe can share a bit more data and so on. So yeah, please have a look at that if you want to see sort of what the current state of that is. Probably gonna improve it a bit, sort of make some assumptions more clear. So for example, when it comes to bandwidth usage, if mobile nodes are mostly offline and so on. But the main focus is on sort of the workshop that we're gonna have in Brussels in 1-2 weeks from now, close to FOSDEM, which will be with Web3 Foundation, Validity Labs, Parity, Matrix, and a bunch of other people. And you can see the people who are joining from Status. And there we'll talk sort of, I guess, generally about sort of secure messaging, but also more specifically about something like an alternative to Whisper. And there will be a bunch of sort of mixed network researchers and so on. So work right now is sort of having a kind of mini presentation on Status point of view. So that includes giving some kind of documentation of sort of the current state of our protocol, some problems we have with it, and also briefly on the data sync layer. That's it for me. Thank you.
Awesome. So that wraps up all the Swarm updates. Are there any questions or comments about the Swarm before we get into our hero presentation for today? I'm not following on YouTube, so I don't know if there's anything there, but any questions, comments? Otherwise, we can continue.
Ricardo has a question from YouTube.
Sure.
Oh, no, he just said questions. Never mind.
Okay. All right, cool. Well, obviously, people can continue to ask questions or just come to status and people can help out if you have any questions there. All right, moving on to our main feature, which is keycard. Guy, you want to take it away? Guy, you there? You were there earlier.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yep, there we go.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, so this is well, about 10 minutes update about where we're at and what the next steps are for keycard. I'd like to first start by explaining what we are trying to build, because actually we are doing something much broader than building just one single hard wallet that looks like a card and is integrated with status. We really are creating an open ecosystem for smart cards in the crypto space. Can you go to the next slide, please? And so what does this ecosystem looks like eventually? Different things. On the left here, you have some example of third-party projects that want to integrate with smart cards. These are mostly mobile applications and mostly wallet, actually. But there can also be some dedicated hardware projects. One example being Grid Plus, which is some sort of home-connected hard wallet to pay utility bills. Or this can also be some point of sales. These are the clients. And on the right side, you have some smart cards. So, of course, keycard itself, the one on the top, but also smart cards from other projects. And importantly, in the middle, the glue to this ecosystem is our open set of protocols and tools that we call keycard API. And it's here to provide interoperability between the different projects. So that, for instance, you could use your status keycard with another wallet app than status, or with the point of sale X or Y. Overall, we're trying to create a de facto standard and toolbox for all contactless hard wallet-like scenarios. So this is working over NFC, of course, but not only. Since we've seen there's some need to standardize how hard wallets talk to mobile over Bluetooth. We've heard that, for instance, at some other magicians meetings, for instance. And can you go to the next one, please? And what you see here on the bottom right is the Nano Ledger X, the Bluetooth hard wallet from Ledger they announced last week. And actually, our first step towards using Bluetooth is that we will develop a keycard application for Ledger X. And the great thing about this is that it will use a keycard API, just like the status smart card keycard. So this keycard application will allow to use NanoX with status, of course, on Android, and interestingly also on iOS, since this is over Bluetooth. But it will also allow any third-party application that's integrated, that have integrated keycard to be able to use the NanoX with keycard application. So this adds value to the whole ecosystem. So this is really what we're trying to build. It's going to take some time, but that's really the vision we have here. Can you go to the next one, please? So what is keycard about? In terms of use cases, what we've been enabling up to now are hard wallet scenarios to bring users control over their keys. It's been, and it will continue to be for some time, actually, our main focus. But there are two other use cases that keycard can enable. Payment. For instance, use your keycard to pay for some groceries in a shop or your transport ticket in a bus. And another use case is prepaid crypto cards. So buy in a shop some crypto by buying a card with fiat. And what's in it for status? Of course, first, we are empowering the ecosystem. We are bringing tools for any projects to build these use cases for themselves. We are also, of course, driving status adoption because we're making a better user experience for those who use the status application. And we're allowing third-party projects and developers to build for Status ecosystem directly. This ecosystem will also help us to build new partnerships for sure. And interestingly, it will create revenues because keycard is going to be sold, and it will drive those revenues that will cover the development cost, which is interesting, obviously. Can you go to next, please? So what are we building exactly? We're not building one thing. We are building 4 different things that are distinct projects. First one is the card itself. It's a real physical product that gets out of the factory with a packaging, a booklet, its own design. So that's one project per se to get this physical product out. We're having an applet, so Java card applet running in the smart card, the API, and the integration within a Status app. Next, please. So if we take a very quick snapshot at where we're at, for the card itself, we are at sampling stage. We'll have first complete samples, meaning the card, the packaging, the booklet getting out of the real factory that we manufacture them by end of January. And the first real production of a lot of 2,000 products will happen in the last days of February. So we'll have them ready to be dispatched by first week of March. That's for the card. For applet and API, we worked on a key card API v2 that covers hard wallet scenario. This is ready. And we are currently in research phase for a v3 of the API. I'll come back to that. And as for the Status app, it will be in a beta release in March. I'll come back to that also. Can you go to next one, please? So some more updates about the projects, if we go more in detail. As for the card itself, this is the card current design. So it's a flat design to be shipped within a letter. It's using Status Blue. We have a new logo. We've got a booklet to help the user set up this key card. And this is what we'll get at the end of the month in samples. Can you go to the next one, please? Ned and Johnny are exploring new branding languages for keycard. So this is really ongoing now. What's displayed here is purely exploratory, but we want to use this new branding language for the upcoming website and possibly for the 2K production. Can you go to the next one, please? Yeah, as for the card, so we've got a good partner with Selp. That's our factory. It's a factory in France. We have committed to manufacture 10,000 key cards with them. The first lot of 2,000 by end of February, as I said. All the logistic part, meaning taking care of the stock, the fulfillment, and the shipment, we've got a pretty good deal with them. So we'll start with them, but I'm assessing more competitors to make sure we have best service and price for the future. And last thing, a quick remark is that Status has now officially a registered number to deploy smart cards applet. So it's something that's required by ANSI and the ISO rules. Next one, please. So as for the API and applet, as previously said, we worked in the past months on keycard v2. It's ready now. This is what we'll use for the launch. And it's about hardware wallet scenarios. Why it's not a v1? Because we fixed many things and we've improved the framework by adding card duplication, which can be a possible alternative to writing a mnemonic. It means that a second key card can back up your secret. It's safer than a piece of paper with your 12 words written on it. We've added tap to download an application for the setup and tap to launch this application. We've got now Android and desktop SDK, and we've got a much better documentation. So this is ready. And we are in research phase for V3 of this API. We are adding mostly the all point of sale use cases and also signature applet because we want to be able to uniquely identify each card. And that's a pretty simple application, but we needed to enable crypto cards use cases, meaning you buy one card in a shop with 1 Ether, paying it for fiat. So there's going to be a post in Discuss about the point of sale use cases that I'll post later today. So watch out, and your feedbacks are most welcomed. Next, please. As for the application in Status app, there's obviously a lot of work going on here. What's done is the specification, all the UI, I mean, all the screens, all this is done. Of course, all the card upgrade, meaning uploading the firmware, all the creation of account, the settings, this is done. The logging with the key card is blocked because we have a dependency on wallet and Whisper key decoupling. I'll come back to that. And what we still have to do is signing of transactions, importing account, and migrating an existing account to a key card. Yeah, can you go to next one, please? So as for Whisper and wallet key decoupling, we merged a couple of peers that decoupled the keys internally. There's another PR that's open to create the two different keys, the wallet one and the chat one. And Andrea is opening a last one to log in with the key card and inject the Whisper key. On the user experience front, Andre and Esther helped to define a simple way to define who can see my wallet address. And we've chosen a pretty simple path, which is to allow that my contacts and my contacts only can see my wallet address. And there are now discussions with Esther, Rachel, and Andrea, mostly, on what strategy we should take to migrate old accounts to new accounts. So there'll be some decision to take on this as a team, I guess, in the coming days. Yeah. Next one, please. As for marketing, the effort is mostly driven by Johnny and Ned for the branding part. We'll go in two phases. First phase, which is to be fully ready by F Denver on 13th of February. The goal is to communicate about the hard wallet rebrand to Keycard, to create awareness and engage and build and help to build with Keycard for other projects and get signups. So to do so, we are working on a new website. There'll be some animation on this website to show the use cases, setting up social channels, an email campaign, a press release that Johnny is working on, and a dedicated promo campaign for F Denver. And on the tech side, we are putting up a documentation website about Keycard API. This should be live very soon, since Michele had some first version ready last week. So this is phase one. And if you go to next slide, phase two is to be ready beginning of March, first week of March, and it's about distribution. So the goal is really to make Keycard available worldwide for any developer that wants to develop with it. So for this, we are on top of phase one, setting up our own eShop. So with its content and setting up the payment channels, including crypto payments on this eShop. And we set up the supply chain with the factory. And as for the price, we've had several discussions about that starting in December. And the consensus seems to be that we position it at $29 or euros. And we'll have some rebates at launch to facilitate the start of the project. Next one, please. So if I recap all these efforts, the plan is really to have by first week of March, everything set up to facilitate anyone from the ecosystem to build with Keycard. So that includes awareness with all the marketing efforts, availability of the cards themselves and the supply chain, and all the support, especially the documentation websites. And if you go to next slide, by March, we'll also have a beta version of Status app integrating keycard. And this will drive another marketing effort to follow for the launch of keycard within Status, actually. To finish on a simple message, so some of you are directly working on keycards, some are not, but I think for sure we can all do something to help with the project. It's to develop the awareness and help engage other projects to build with keycard. I think that's really the key thing now. And whether you participate to some blockchain conference or are working with some other blockchain projects, or even have your Twitter account of your own, let's communicate about this and really have those developers come to us to build the ecosystem. And of course, we'll provide full support for these projects. And that's what I wanted to update you on.
Awesome. Thanks a lot for the update, Guy. Any questions about keycard?
Where should we go and talk to you guys about marketing and so on?
Sorry, I did not get it.
Where's the best place to reach out to you guys regarding marketing or go to market, things like that? Which channel?
There are discussions on status marketing, status marketing channel directly. Yeah, not so much on the keycard status channel. So yeah, status marketing.
What about just general wallet conversation? Eric here has a conversation about Whisper key decoupling and whether it's possible and thoughts on that. So where's the best place to have these conversations?
So it's happening on the keycard channel. So there were a lot of discussion about that last week, but I guess it's since I had the same question from Oscar 1 hour ago, I think I'll set up a dedicated channel for this. And I will post the document from Esther that summarizes all the discussion we had last week about it.
Fantastic. Thank you. Any other comments or questions?
Just a quick one. I just want to plug the CodeDev meeting on Monday. So some feedback from some people, like if there is anything, a problem or something you want to announce to other people that requires sort of coordination across swarms, it's a great opportunity. So please just go to the GitHub repo and add stuff you want to talk about. Yeah, that's all.
Cool. Anything on keycard people want to ask? Where I have a question. It's about price point. What are your thoughts on price points across markets or a single price point online and things like that?
Yeah. So well, that's really a trade-off. I mean, we want to create adoption, so we want to be as low as possible. And well, we have to be, I mean, the price point have to make sense with the rest of the market. And also we want to generate some margin to cover our costs. I actually shared in a Discuss post in December a list of all hard wallets on the market. And 29 was a good trade-off because it's cheaper than all other hard wallets with the same type of function. So it's a good price point to trigger adoption. And at the same time, it's high enough for us to sell directly, but also high enough so that in the future, maybe in a couple of months, we'd want to sell that through some distributors. So it's really a question of trade-offs. I'll share again the document with all the rationale about getting to this 29 euro price point.
Awesome.
I have a quick question on how you imagine, let's say like right now, a lot of people might have a hardware wallet like Ledger or Trezor or whatever. How do you imagine people going from that to sort of using KeyCode more, roughly how it will work with the KeyCode API, or if it will require people to transfer funds or some roughly like that.
Is your question from? Is your question?
I guess I mean, like, given that some people have like funds right now in a hardware wallet, how do you imagine sort of people being able to use the KeyCode? Like, what do you see as the path to that?
Well, it's they can. I mean, the most obvious path is to import their mnemonic. I mean, that's the most straightforward one. This function will be enabled within Status app. And within other wallet apps that will integrate with KeyCard. So yeah, importing the mnemonic. If anyone has other ideas about that, but that's the one I have in mind.
How would the KeyCard API interact with it? Let's say I have a Ledger or some other hardware wallet, and it supports KeyCard, the KeyCard API in some future firmware upgrade. What would that mean in terms of how I can use it?
I'm not sure I get it. You mean with?
So if I have a hardware wallet and they create like a firmware update that allows us to use the KeyCard API, is there some sort of mechanism whereby I could use the KeyCard without sort of moving funds or importing a mnemonic or something like this? Sorry, it's a broad question. I'm just trying to understand that.
I'm gonna try to get it. Sorry,
I'll come back with a better question later. It's okay, don't worry. Sorry.
Okay, thanks.
All right.
Regarding the payment in crypto, will this price be fixed in something like DAI, and then it's automatically converted to SNT or to Ether, and then it's stored in status multisig?
The idea would be to really to present a fiat price to the user, because the user will spend some fiat at a store, so and convert that to a crypto that we have to choose, either DAI or SNTs or either. But really the goal is to be this gateway between the fiat and one crypto we choose. So basically the message would be this is buy this card €10 and you've got €10 worth of crypto.
So it will be automatically converted. I mean,
yes,
and it will accept other cryptos like Bitcoin, or because these ones are not easy to use smart contracts to simply convert to us.
Yeah, we have to decide on that. We're not there yet, but we have to decide on which crypto we offer. I mean, and how we manage that from a smart contract point of view, for sure. Yeah.
Does it have to be one crypto?
I mean, we have to start off with one crypto, because the message needs to be clear for the user. Well, we can say buy €10 worth of crypto, but maybe that's a bit too vague, you know. If you are going to spend your €10, you want to know what you get. If we just say get some crypto, the one you choose on within the app, maybe it means to be decided. I think it's really a matter of being clear to the user so that he understands what he gets when he spends his fiat.
Yeah, this is only a point of user experience that needs to be well done to translate, but there is the technical point. There is more complication if we support some currency that is outside of the Ethereum ecosystem, because when it's inside the Ethereum ecosystem, it's really autonomous to do this conversion. And then we can basically support any token that, for example, uses iSwap or Bancor or any of these DEX. So I think we probably would stay in only this Ethereum ecosystem and support all of them, because it's just a matter of conversion. We would accept SNT or Ether. That would be the decision. And also if we support something outside of that, because then there is this, we need another key holder, or we need some third party to convert to us that we need to trust. So we get outside of this trustless environment.
Yeah. So it is, that's clear. Yeah.
Well, because the reason I'm asking is because when you get a card in your mailbox, right, you want to do stuff with it on the first use, right? And one of the things we want to do in status is to have people register the username or whatever. So technically they should need some SMT, and then maybe we want to encourage them to try out some other service or simply have something to do with that crypto. And maybe we want DAI so that they also don't feel cheated. So I don't know if it necessarily has to be one.
One idea of framing that would be, you say you get 10 euros worth of F, and then you have the actual, you take a bit of profit in the spread price, and then you give 100 S&T for free. But really the total value is the same, but you make it some amount of F, and then you just give some S&T or whatever for free.
Wheel of Fortune.
Awesome. These are great ideas. I think it would be really useful if there was if you want to, when you publish your Discuss post, if you could put a channel for people to kind of give suggestions, feedback. I think it's a very exciting project, and a lot of people, either want to get involved or, have some ideas to make it even more successful.
Yeah. Okay. That's great. Yeah. We'll do that.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
Might be a great start point for new users that are not in crypto and want to try out. Maybe that's something that should be tagged at marketing as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Fully agree.
Do we plan to turn Status, the application, into a pop-up payment terminal?
So can you repeat, do we plan to use Status app in the payment terminal?
Yeah, like why not turn Status itself into a pop-up payment terminal?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. And actually, when I was talking about the Discuss post I sent this afternoon, it's about, point of sale use cases. And that's an obvious one, using the Status application as a point of sale. But we really would like everyone's input about some concrete real life selling scenarios in this use case. But for sure, we have the opportunity to turn everyone's phone with Status app into a point of sale, which is great.
Both for accepting payments as well as telenetwork. So you can see from the seller side, there's a lot of overlap. There will be overlap on when you start getting to a point of sale system with what the telenetwork is doing as well. Just something to keep in mind, not to distract.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks everyone for joining. Thank you, Guy, for the presentation. I think that there's clearly a lot of interest in this and people will be following along closely. Thanks for joining, and have a great fortnight until our next town hall. Thanks for joining.
Thanks. Bye.
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 Cheers.